Growing up, hearing things like, wow, this person very 唱瓜, guys should look a certain way, they should speak a certain way. And I guess it really, really affected my mental health quite a lot growing up. Okay, so my name is Xavier. I am 24 this year, and I'm currently just a full-time freelancer. So apart from doing my freelance job, right, I also do beauty content creation on Instagram. So my focus is mainly on IG, where I share a lot of my own thoughts and my own liking on certain beauty products and things that I love to do when it comes to makeup. Thank you. So I read this one first. Okay, then you show the camera. Oh, okay. Okay, so the first one that I have here is men should be masculine, feminine, boys are weak. Okay, this is very rude. Okay, this is how do you define masculine and how do you define feminine? Just because you're feminine doesn't make you weak, but it doesn't equate that masculine people are any stronger. You can be masculine on the outside, you know, but you can be a total inner mess. These are not things to be proud of, and neither are they something that defines how strong you are. So, nope. Okay, the question that I have here is, as an influencer in Singapore, what are some common gender stereotypes that you have encountered or heard of? Okay, firstly, I won't call myself as an influencer in Singapore. I'll just say I'm a content creator, you know. Okay, I'm not that big to be able to make an influence, but as I gradually have some public eye, I have heard quite a lot of different common gender stereotypes. Your typical things like guys shouldn't cry, you know, men shouldn't talk about emotions. I've heard of it way more when I was younger, growing up, hearing things like, wow, this person very 唱瓜, you know, like this person walk, even the way I sit, you know, as long as I'm not man spreading, right, I am not sitting like how a man should be sitting, you know, but then to me it's just like, you're just not considering about people's personal space, okay, but yeah, but these are really common stereotypes that I've heard of. Okay, so the next comment is, I cannot tolerate seeing men wear makeup. It's a disgrace to society. Firstly, it sounds like a you problem. You know, like no one asks you to tolerate, no one asks you to see lah. So I think it sounds like a you problem. And I think you having such mindset is more of a disgrace to society than men wearing makeup, because they are just wearing makeup, they are not hurling vulgarities, they are not scolding people, they are not intruding your personal space, they are not forcing you to stare at them wearing makeup, you know. So the fact that you feel that you not being able to tolerate because you are just uncomfortable with someone doing their own thing is a disgrace to society, kind of shows how much you are like as a person. And yeah, I think you should do some self-reflection. Okay, so the question is, when did you start to gain interest in makeup? I started makeup, I think, back in about 2013 when I was a child actor. Yeah, so no one did my makeup as a kid, so I had to learn the tips and tricks and the knickknacks on my own as a child. Then after that, I think because of that, I started like researching online, watching some YouTube videos, seeing how people do their makeup and stuff like that. And then I started finding this thing quite interesting. And my main interest or my main reason for doing makeup was kind of to cover up my flaws. But I think as time goes by, I realized that was very fun. I realized it was a form of self-expression. It made me look good, like both inside and out, which was why I slowly started doing a little bit more makeup, and then I started experimenting with sharing my thoughts on blog. Yeah, I blog on WordPress. Yeah, and then I think as time goes by, I think when I entered Poly, that's when I really started doing more makeup content and beauty content on my Instagram. I remember quite clearly that my first few mean comments were like someone saying like, you look like an alien with that lipstick on, you should just die. This is the reason why Asians are disgusting. You know, you are the reason why Asians are hated in westernized countries, and you know, you and your family should all just die because you don't deserve to live. Then I was just like, I wasn't even doing anything, you know, and at that point in time, I wasn't even posting a lot about my makeup yet. And I think when I first received that, I was only like 14 years old, you know, so I think it was quite scary. I think this kind of things are really, I mean, even if it's not to a 14, 15-year-old, you know, like it shouldn't even escape your mouth, you know. Yeah, it's kind of comments. So when did you first realize that you didn't fit into traditional norms? Ooh, I like this question. I think my first memory was, I think I was most likely like K1, K2. Yeah, when I realized that I really liked playing with my grandmother's heel. And and whenever my grandma like apply nail polish, right, I'll be like, ooh, I want to do that kind of thing. And then I think that was the start. When I got older, I think it was like how I dress. What I felt was comfortable was not comfortable for a lot of my peers. I think that was gradually when I realized that I didn't really fit into traditional norms. And it was quite interesting growing up, realizing that I was somehow nowhere in the box, you know. I don't even know if there was a box. Like, I'm like, hey, y'all all got a box on, where's my box kind of perspective, yeah. When it comes to incidents or like situations that happen to me where I don't fit into traditional norms, right, I think definitely there are like copious amounts of those. So like a backstory was that I think I was only about 17 years old when that happened. So it was at a particular mall that doesn't have handicapped toilets separated from the gendered washroom. So usually what I would do is that if I'm dressing a bit more feminine that day, I would usually pick the handicapped toilet just so to avoid any miscommunications or misunderstanding, right? But because that particular mall doesn't have a separated handicapped toilet, so I had no choice but to just use the normal male bathroom. So I remember me going in, and then there was this guy that was walking out. So it was really like a you can imagine like a this situation, you know, yeah. So when I was going in, the guy was coming out, and then like we just made eye contact, and then I just walked in to the washroom, and then the guy just followed me at the back. And then the guy was like really loudly saying that, hey, you know this is a male's bathroom, right? Then I was like, yeah, I know. And then he was like, then you shouldn't be here. Then I was like, but I'm a guy, you know. Then after that, that dude said like, oh, but you don't look like one. Then I was like, yes, but I am, and I just need to use the bathroom, and then I'll be done. So I walked into the cubicle, and then I locked the door, and then the guy, I didn't know, but apparently the guy followed me at the back. He started banging onto the door, on the cubicle door, and then he was saying something like, you don't deserve to be here, you know, this is a male's bathroom, if you don't look like one, you know, you cannot be here. He was just loudly banging the door and just so aggressive. And then afterwards, another guy came in, and then I think he was talking to the guy, so I think that dude was telling the other guy and was saying like, this is a male's bathroom, right? So for anyone that doesn't look the mark shouldn't be here, right? And I can't hear what the guy said because they were outside of the cubicle. Then after that, then the whole commotion and the whole conversation outside the cubicle went on, and then I still didn't get to pee because I was so scared, okay? Yeah, so I was just waiting for like the whole thing outside to die down, and I think afterwards it died down already. Then after that I finally peed, and then after that I was like peeking outside the door just to make sure that like, you know, it's safe, and then there's like no one outside before I got out, and then wash my hands and then faster yeet myself out of the bathroom. I remember very clearly when I first started getting bullied was when surprisingly it was when I went upper sec. I think at the start it's really like your normal everyday thing, you know, people would like take your stuff and then not return it, and then they will like call you names, and then like, you know, when you're going to the toilet, right, then they'll purposely lock the toilet door, or like when you're peeing in the cubicle they'll just bang the door outside, you know, creating a huge ruckus, a lot of fuss, that kind of thing. But then I always had people to turn to, yeah, and then I had a few very nice and close guy friends. And then after a while, the other guys who bullied me started making fun of us. They started saying that like, oh, you're, you know, like you are so close to Xavier means that you are a couple, means that you are as gay as he, means that you also like aqua, you know, you are the same type of people, that kind of thing. And then but they didn't bully him, they didn't get physical or anything with him, but I think those words got into them. That's when they started to drift away from me, and then after that they started being part of the perpetrator, where sometimes they would just keep quiet while I'm being bullied, or if not they would just join in, or they would just laugh. And I think to see one's close friend being the one there laughing was kind of enough to pull the trigger already. Yeah, I guess for benefit of doubt, I guess they were just young, like they didn't know the impact that they had. All they wanted to do was just to protect themselves, and I don't think we can blame anyone for wanting to protect themselves. So I think it is okay lor. Yeah, but it was sad at that point in time. I mean, it's still sad now, but like I said, we all want to stay safe, you know, and I guess for them that was a way that they could protect themselves, or to prevent whatever they saw happening to me happen to them. And that was the best of the worst way they could find. I think growing up, these comments made me doubt myself a lot more, made me wonder why am I so different. And I guess with this aspect, it really, really affected my mental health quite a lot growing up. I think it really made me think like, am I like weird? You know, am I like should I not be part of this world because I'm so different? So I think all of these thoughts actually kind of really eat into my mentality of who I am as a person. But I guess very luckily growing up, I did also meet with a lot of people who are very nice and very sweet. So I think they are my soldiers, in fighting this forever war of me trying to be who I am. The effects are still here, but I guess the effect also taught me to not do the same thing to others. Yeah, even if we have different beliefs in life. I think there's just this part of me that I always try to see the good in people. Maybe they just have some intentions, maybe they just have some things that they are going through as well. And this was the only outlet that they could use for them to feel better. I guess knowing that they are not horrible people was a way of me coping with what I was having. If I, as an individual, is not experiencing or will not be experiencing what I had experienced, right? I think that just means that society is improving, and I think for society to improve, I just feel that in general, right, the future have to have people who are a lot more respectful and try to be a little bit kinder. Everyone wants to have a say in something that we somehow just lack the respect. As much as I, want to be treated a certain way, right? I also have to remember that we all grew up in different backgrounds. We all grew up in different generations. We come from different families, parenting style and whatnot. And all this means that we are all different individuals. And we can try to let the others understand, but we cannot force an understanding on others. I just hope that in the future, people can just be a bit more respectful. People can be less quick to jump to conclusion, and people can just take a step back, and listen. I think it's very, very important to find your support group. Yeah, I think it's very, very important to find people that support you, and I think it's also very important for you to support yourself. I think the first thing that would be the easiest thing to do is, of course, to deny whatever you're feeling, and to just pretend that you are the same, in doing all that you can to act a certain way just so that you're going to be well liked. But trust me, the more you put on a facade, the more you are going to feel very, very exhausted, the more you are going to feel very, very upset, and the more confused you're going to get, because you're going to feel like, why am I doing what needs to be done, but I'm still not feeling what needs to be felt, So I think firstly is your support group. Don't deny what you're feeling. And I think the last thing is just to get through it. I think we always hear people saying it's a phase, it's a feeling, you can just get over it. But I don't believe in getting over something, because that just means that you're avoiding something. Just, you have to feel those emotions, you have to go right through it, and it's only after you go right through it that you are through and out of that situation, or that you know how to cope with that situation, or you have honed skills for you to cope with that situation. And that's only from there where you can grow and really, really be comfortable enough in your own skin.